Hey, this is Kenny from Kenny's Audiophile Record Reviews. Thank you very much for viewing my channel. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. That really would help me out too. In this video, I'm going to mention 10 albums that I think would be great in the Analogue Productions Acoustic Sounds UHQR vinyl format or the Mobil Fidelity Ultradisc one-step format. But before that, as usual, you know I got to get to the album in the spotlight briefly, and that goes to Diahann Carroll, the great American actress and singer, underrated singer. She was on a television show here in the United States from 1968 to 1971 on an NBC network called Julia. That was a great show to look at when I was a kid. But like I said, I'm going to come up with a list of 10 excuse me, albums that I think will go great in the UHQR Analogue Productions Acoustic Sounds format and the one-step Ultradisc format by Mobil Fidelity. Now, in compiling this list, I wanted to think out of the box and not come up with the choices that are normally circulated through these vinyl formats. I wanted to do something, think of something different. I thought I would make it hard on myself and think out of the box and think of something new and fresh to bring to the table. Now, these choices of mine probably are not going to be that popular. I assume two requirements that some of these record manufacturers take into account is one, is it popular enough to sell? And two, it has to be a high quality audiophile recording. Mine, I don't think that are that popular enough to sell, but you know what? They're near and dear to my heart, so I thought I would bring them up as mentions. But a lot of people would like to see, you know, albums like Love Forever Changes done in the UHQR vinyl format, or Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon done in the UHQR vinyl format, or they would love to see Analogue Productions do their Acoustic Sounds, do a UHQR version, a final statement on A Love Supreme. But like I said, I wanted to think out of the box and come up with some fresh and new things, just, you know, just at random to throw on the table. I have a moderate size record collection of 7,000 records, and I could easily come up with another 10, another 10, another 10, but I thought I would just go with these 10, at least as an initial start. So I think I'll get started with the first one is Off Ramp by the Pat Metheny Group. A great jazz fusion record. I think would sound good in a UHQR or one-step format. This album, excuse me if I look at my notes during this video, but this album was issued in 1982, and in 1983 it won for Best Jazz Fusion Performance. It's a legit album, really, really good. This next album, I got the idea from a comment from a viewer on another video. I did a top 10 albums video, and one viewer, his name is Jim, and if Jim, you know who you are, thanks for the idea. But he mentioned the music from Peter Gunn on his top 10 albums list, and this is an amazing album, an amazing jazz album, underrated jazz album. Even though it's a album of music from a television series, it's a jazz album. And I think the song Peter Gunn would sound fantastic on a higher quality pressing, like the UHQR, the Ultradisc. This album was released in 1959 on RCA Records and won Grammy for Album of the Year. So it's a serious album. The next album is Cone Concert by Keith Jarrett. This is one of my favorite albums all time, and it's an oversight on my part. I should have probably put this in my top 10. That's how much I care for this album. Solo piano performance by Keith Jarrett, Cone Concert. Next on my list, and oh, by the way, these albums just random order. They're not any order of best, you know, to least. It's just random order. The next album is a 1958 effort by Miles Davis, Milestones. Great jazz album, you know. Features Cannonball Adderley, John Coltrane, Red Garland, Paul Chambers, Philly Joe Jones. This is a electronically rechanneled for stereo version. I believe this was originally issued in mono, so if they want to reissue this album, I think it has to be in mono. Next is Extensions by the Manhattan Transfer. This is a 1979 release, underrated vocal album. Great songs. They do a great version of Birdland, Body and Soul, Foreign Affair, Twilight Zone, and Twilight Tone. A 1979 release. It won Grammy for Best Jazz Fusion Performance at the 1981 Grammys. Next up, Court and Spark by the great pure voice of Joni Mitchell. The songs Help Me and Man in Paris would just sound really great on that UHQR format. Court and Spark by Joni Mitchell. This next album, I think, is Stan Getz's greatest album of all time, in my personal opinion. The album is called Focus. It has great orchestration, great saxophone playing. You know, composed and arranged by Eddie Sauter. I'm going to read you a short passage from this book on Stan Getz. It's called Stan Getz, A Life in Jazz. And I'm going to read you what he thinks about his effort on this album. And it goes as follows. The record I'm proud of is Focus. That is one hell of an effort to match up with those strings with no written music, but just a score transposed into my key. I listen to that record and feel proud. Want to read a good book on Stan Getz? Great book. Stan Getz, Focus. Next on my list, I deeply think this is an underrated record. This is a SACD version of it. Isley Brothers 3+3. I love this record and I love the sound of this record, and I have for some time. I love their versions of That Lady, Summer Breeze, and The Highways of My Life. Next, Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's the Way of the World. Now, this version was issued on Impex Record a couple of years ago, I believe. And although this one sounds really, really good, I think it could benefit even more from the Analogue Productions UHQR format, I believe. It's an amazing, solid record. Great performance as well. The next one is an album that was issued in 1967. And this album won for Best Jazz Instrumental Performance. It was that good. Underrated album. Cannonball Adderley Quintet. Mercy, Mercy, Mercy. Live at the Club. The Joe Zawinul composition Mercy, Mercy, Mercy is an amazing song. It propelled that group to have a top 40 hit on the pop charts. And also there was a vocal group called the Buckinghams. And they had a vocal version of the song Mercy, Mercy, Mercy that also made the Billboard Top 40 charts as well. Underrated jazz album by Cannonball Adderley. I think that would, the performance of this album would boost in the UHQR format or the one-step Ultradisc format. But that's my 10. Like I said, they were just 10 at random. I could have easily came up with another 10. I just chose to go with this 10. But if you have some that you think would go great on the Analogue Productions Acoustic Sounds UHQR format or the MOFI one-step Ultradisc format, leave your comments in the comment section below. And like I said, I tried to think out of the box on my selection. I didn't want to come up with the ones that everybody used to come up with all the time. So leave your comments in the comment section below. Thank you very much for viewing my video. Please like and subscribe. That will help me out. God bless. Love. Peace to all.